with Star Trek's Let That Be Your Last Battlefield, we have yet another adventure that puts to rest, I believe, the notion that the third season of original Star Trek was the worst of the three, when in fact all three were good. Sure, there's missteps here and there, but it's another good episode in my opinion, and it has this interesting take. It's blatantly obvious, of course, of the outcomes of racism and the hatred for one another, and the ultimate outcome, should it continue and not be resolved, as what you see here in this episode, which also features Frank Gorshin, who pretty much even now I think dominates the character of Riddler for Batman. And since he did all right in those tights in that show, they figured, hey, he could do this, because yeah, I gotta admit, his character was a little more in shape than the other guy. But this is what they had with these tights, I guess. The idea of painting them entirely in the black and white features. Although I would have thought they could have dyed the hair as well, but maybe that was too much trouble. Also, I don't know. They probably could have gotten wigs or whatever, but then that would look stupid. So, well, you go with what you got. Plus, they have their superpowers and stuff like that. But anyway, so basically, the Enterprise, of course, is on its way to deliver a decontamination of a planet that's suffering from, well, I forget now what it was, but that's what their main mission was. But then suddenly there's this shuttlecraft floating along, and they're saying, hey, look at that. They bring it in, and it's this guy named Lokai. And his face is part black and part chalk white, And they're like, oh, well, we never experienced it or encountered anybody that looks like that. And they bring him in. Suddenly an invisible ship, and it's not a Romulan cloaked vessel or anything like that. It's just this ship that's invisible, and it's coming in at super speeds, and then it apparently deteriorates, nearly collides with the Enterprise apparently, and then comes in. Then there's Frank Gorshin. He manages to teleport in onto the bridge, and he's in pursuit of Lokai. His name is Beale. And he says, Lokai is a wanted criminal. He's committed all kind of heinous crimes and whatnot. And I want him. And then Kirk says, well, we got, regulations and whatnot. And, we'll have to sort this out with the Federation. And then once the two men meet, you begin to see that Lokai sees himself as a revolutionary fighting against, millennia of oppression from Lokai's people. Of course, to everybody else, hey, you guys look exactly alike. And, Beale's like, are you blind? He's black on the other side. And of course, this is the demonstration of the absurdities. The slightest difference. Oh, well, we got to fight now. And all of that stuff. And they play out the roles of which either side says. And they don't. And obviously, you probably think, oh, we're going to side more with Lokai. But it's not as simple as that, and they keep it like that. And he's all in it for his cause, and of course Beale is determined to punish this man, and won't hear any other arguments to the contrary, and all that. But I think it's weighted against Beale somewhat, but still there's a display here. And even on the part of Lokai, his own nature of being bigoted, and he shows some of that towards the Enterprise crew. So they're coming from a very damaged world, as we will soon find out. Well, it turns out apparently their lifespans are extremely long, because Beale claims he's been chasing him for 1,000 years. That's an astounding thing. Plus, they've got these powers. They try to attack them at one point, and they have personal shields for themselves. Beale himself, I guess Lokai doesn't have this ability or what have you, but he's able to take over the ship just by a sheer force of will. and all that sort of stuff. And this pushes Kirk into the point of they display the self-destruct codes in this episode, where he's playing a game of chicken here with Beale, and right up to the last minute, and finally Beale gives in and returns the ship. They're able to complete their mission to decontaminate the planet, and then of course Kirk wants to turn them over to the starbase, but Beale's not interested in that, so he takes over the ship again to send them back to his home planet. And then he fries the computers, which is another demonstration of his power. So they can't invoke the self-destruct codes anymore. And so that's that. They're going back home. Part of this is the big failing in the show, in that Kirk, even after Beale has done this, he doesn't put him in the brig, which he should have done. I mean, Kirk has some sympathies for their situation and understands that, and he's trying to be diplomatic and accommodating to it all. But this guy took over your ship, and you had to push him to the point to your own suicide in order to get him to give it up. No, he needed to be in the brig, but he didn't do that, and it's just a really stupid move on Kirk's part. So anyway, of course, the two men can't resolve anything. They get to the planet, and what's happened? Well, the populace has destroyed themselves. There's no one left. There's some animal life they detect. The planet is in ruins, and the two guys, instead of realizing, Kirk's like, you're the only two you have left. You know, there's no point in fighting anymore. Race war's over. Everybody lost. You know, and no, they can't give it up. They can't continue, and both of them. Lokai takes off. Beale chases him. They beam down to the planet, and I'm sure they killed each other along the way, with some stock footage, probably from World War II or whatnot, of burning, cities and whatnot. But you get the point, and this is how it ends when you pursue this. A lesson that should not be lost today by people who are trying to stir these things up even now. And you see how easy it is for them to fall into it, because neither one would listen to reason, and the Enterprise crew is helpless to do anything but watch it happen. And so yes, it's a pretty good show. It's obviously referencing their times, with the civil rights movement at the time, and also there's even reference to Vietnam in there. If you listen to one of the Lokai is doing one of his speeches to some of the crew members, and I've even had our people got sent off to fight a war with other planets that we had no gripe with, but they did, that kind of thing. And it's I think a lot of black people would say that about being drafted and sent to Vietnam and stuff like that at the time. So, of course, there's references to it, but these are, eternal truths in the nature of how people interact, and so it doesn't really matter that, it did reference it, but they performed it well, they wrote it well, they crafted it well. It's not just breaking the fourth wall and, telling you something very much within its times. Gee, I don't like that. And that's it, and here's my tokens. Look, we got quite a few. Aren't we great? So, yeah, I think this is one of the better episodes. And another thing that says this idea that the third season was really awful. No, it's just one of these dumb things that get set and people repeat it over and over because of Spock's brain, which again, it's a stupid premise, but it was fun. So there's more than one way to make a good Star Trek episode. And and then there's episodes like this, which, granted, it's somewhat on the nose, almost literally. But they do it well. So there you go. And, if you're going to wear tights, you got to go the Frank Gorshin way, I guess. Anyway, good episode again for Star Trek. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness. So many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.